Can you guys see the stream okay? Or can you guys like see the thing?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna start now. So, hi guys. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming. This is gonna be the pixel art workshop hosted by me, Elijah. And yeah, thank you for coming. It will be recorded in case you miss anything, so don't worry about that. And I should post it probably by the end of the day. Um, so here's the flyer. Wait, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry, my cat jumped on my desk. Also, I want to say that I might cut out like occasionally, like every few minutes. I tend to cut out like for like 5 seconds. It shouldn't disturb the stream or anything, but if it does, just let me know in the chat, and then I'll restream and everything. So this is some of the work that I've done with pixel art, just from my past games and just from um, just like what I've done, kind of random work. This one on the right is from a game jam. So, and so what I'm going to go over is the following. So first, I'm going to go over just some platforms for doing pixel art, some free and paid ones, and go over palettes and stuff, and just generally setting everything up. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do like a little simple. I'm going to do a button just to practice like getting stuff into Unity and then getting the settings right and then making everything look nice. And then I'm gonna do multiple states of the button, so changing a sprite in a script, just like very, very simply. Then after that, I'm gonna do a very small, like 3 or 4 frame, like 16x animation, and getting that set up in Unity. So getting an animator working, splitting the sprite, and just getting that in. And then the last like physical part of the workshop I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a a tile set. So I'm gonna make a small tile set, and then we use a tile map in Unity and just show you guys how to do that. And then I'm going to do 2 layers of that. So I'm going to do like a forest, just like a very small forest thing, and then I'm going to do another layer on top of that, which is like an opacity layer, just very simply. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some game jam tips and just art advice for doing game jams and just like game development in general. Also, if you guys have any questions at any time or like any comments or anything, just feel free to put in the chat. Um, yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go over platforms. So the programs and the websites that you would be making the pixel art on. So the very first one is Asprite. I think if you have done pixel art in the past, you probably know what Asprite is. It's like I don't know. I would call it the industry standard, kind of, or just like if you do a lot of pixel art, it's generally what you use the most. And it is paid, so I think it's $20. I don't actually know the real amount. I think it's $20, but you can compile it yourself for free. And I have a link down here. That's like a GitHub tutorial on how to do that on Windows. I think they also have like Mac tutorials. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, it's kind of hard to do that, and it's not terribly difficult to like have a friend that has Asaprite and like maybe a few files slip into a DM. It's not terribly difficult to do that. Um, but this is the platform that I use the most for pixel art, just because it's like the easiest, and I wouldn't say the easiest, but It's like the most. It just feels the nicest to use. Someone asked, "Have you used Piskel?" I have like very slightly. I never liked Piskel. Um, I think is that's like one of the free websites, right? I think. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't hate Piskel. Piskel's good. It's kind of just up to personal preference, whatever you want to use. So anybody who wants a free alternative to Sprite, feel free to check that out. I have some also here um, that I'm going to go over next, and then this is um, what Sprite looks like. If I switch over to a new tab, can you guys like see it?
Yep.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, yeah, so this is what Sprite looks like, and it's kind of just like it's like a pixel themed editor. It's really cool, really nice. This is a very old version, but it's still a Sprite. It's still recognizably a Sprite. The next one I'm going to talk about is this is my personal favorite, like free alternative. Um, this is what I used a lot before a Sprite, and it's called pixel art, but the E is replaced by an I. I don't. It's kind of weird. It's really hard to remember, but um, I think this one is personally the best that I've used. It's oops wait I'll just show you. Um, so it has like all the major features you would need from like doing pixel art. So you have obviously all your like line tools, fill, gradient. It also has this like I forgot what it's called. What do you call it? Perspective tool, and it's really cool. Um, Sprite doesn't have that actually. You have to download a script to do that. So I think that's really cool. And whatever this blob is, oh, contour fill. Okay, and then you have your stuff on the right. So you can import color palettes, which I'm going to get to in a second. There's like a color wheel. You have your layers right here. You have like masks you can apply to layers, and then down here you have your animator, so you can make different frames of stuff. And it has options for the tools up here. So pretty simple, pretty nice actually, I would say. Someone asked, do you have to pay monthly or for Sprite is a one-time payment? I'm pretty sure it's a one-time payment. I'm like very sure it's a one-time payment, which is nice. It's kind of on the cheaper side for stuff, for like art programs as far as they go. And yeah, pixel art is just really nice. I like pixel art. Like honestly, if I didn't have a Sprite, like this like has everything you would need, I feel like. So but the only downside is that like it's online, so if the servers go out, you're just you can't make it, which kind of sucks. The next one is Lawspec. I don't like this one as much, but it's definitely it's there and it looks pretty nice, I think. So I'll like show you the problem with Lawspec is that it's not being updated anymore. They have like a message up here. It's no longer being developed, which is very sad. And I think most crucially, it's missing. Oh, this is really nice. Most crucially, I don't see like a frame editor. Like I don't see different frames. I feel like they used to have that, but I don't know if they do anymore. Yeah, there's everything you have. You can import palettes. It's kind of weird. Um, I would recommend pixel art, but in case it's down or doesn't work, I also like this. It's pretty good. Someone says I sometimes use Krita to do pixel art. I'm gonna look that up actually. Not gonna lie. Oh, okay. This looks pretty good too. I know a lot of people use Photoshop. I've never liked Photoshop for pixel art. I'm just gonna put that out there. I've never liked it. That's not like a bad thing or anything. Like it's a fine platform, but I've never been a huge fan. But this looks cool too. Very cool. But that's not to say like yeah, I don't like Photoshop. Period. That's so valid. Like honestly, I I don't like Photoshop either. I'm not gonna lie. There's too much going on. It's too complex. Yeah, imagine painting in Photoshop. Yeah, Krita looks really cool. I did not know about this, so feel free to check this out too. Um, it looks like it's free. I think it's yeah, free open source. Very nice. We like open source. I don't want to support Adobe. That is like so valid. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, that one looks great too. Lost Spec is fine. It's not like the best ever. I would recommend pixel art. But Pisco, I don't remember what Pisco's like. Oh yeah, this one's cute. I remember this. Yeah. Oh, I used to use this like a way back when like either pixel art or Lost Spec didn't have like a resizing feature that worked as well, and this one had like it like kept, I don't know how to describe it. It like kept the ratio when it resized, so I would use this to resize stuff. Um, that's really cool too. Pisco is super easy to use. Okay, that's valid. Yeah, Piscal is also another good alternative. Wait, actually, I'm gonna open this real quick. Yeah, this looks pretty cool too. Add new frame. So this is pretty cool too. There's a lot of like free alternatives. So we have pixel art, Lozpec, which is meh, Krita, and then Piscal. Um, if you know of any others, like you could feel free to use those. It's not that deep. But just any editor that's like free and that you have access to is gonna be good, especially for like a game jam. It doesn't have to, the art is gonna come from you, so it doesn't have to be like the engine itself that does the work. And then I want to go on to palettes. So palettes, okay, like unpopular opinion, you don't need a palette, and I say that because I feel like legitimately part of the charm about pixel art is like you make your own colors sometimes. I don't recommend it, but like you can make your own colors, and like sometimes it kind of helps with the jank of the pixel art. And also making palettes is fun, but I would highly recommend using a palette, and there's a few different places to get palettes. I like the color palettes hosted by Lozpec because you just look up Lozpec color palettes, and then you can like sort by whatever. You can sort by downloads, newest, number of colors, and they give you these little previews, and I love these. Like look at that little Invader Zim, I think, and it's really cool. It kind of gives you the vibe of what you would make, and so I would recommend using a palette, but obviously it depends what you're making. But the tricky thing about palettes is like, what palette do you use? And the answer is going to be whatever. It depends on like the vibe that you're going for. So if you look at like this one right here, it's like just white and 2 shades of blue. That's only 3 colors, which is very, very, very limiting. But like sometimes if you're making, especially in game jams, a lot of game jams do this, where they play with the limiting factor of how many colors you have. So I can't really think of any examples on the top of my head, but like a lot of games will stick to either like one color or one type of, like a very small number of colors to use, and it's pretty cool. But if you're doing like a general game, like maybe that's not the best. Maybe if you're doing like I'm gonna see if they have an example here. Yeah, like look at this. This is kind of like I don't even know what to describe. Yeah, Downwell. There's a lot of games that do. Like look over here, you have these various shades of red. Like if you're doing like a red game, or like maybe a game that takes place at dawn or something, right? You could lean into that. You could do a very limiting color palette, and it would be pretty cool. Not every game needs that, but like look at this. Like this is really cool. Wow, look at that fish. Um, it's part of the fun of like pixel art is that you limit yourself in the first place, and like um, doing it with colors as like a separate thing from like the resolution itself is pretty cool, and games will look really good um, when you do that. But I recommend Lozpec's color palettes just because they have these little previews and they're really cute. And that's all for like the general information. I'm gonna start the like physical workshop part. So if you want to follow along, just make sure you have Unity open, or you have like an empty project or whatever, and then you have um, any one of these editors open, and you don't have to follow along with exactly what I'm doing. You can do your own thing, or you can just, you don't have to follow along either. Um, I'm just going to be doing the button animation and tile map stuff and importing them into Unity. And you can always come back and watch the video again if you miss anything. Because I'm going to be doing like a very small amount of programming. Um, so hopefully that'll be like quick. So I'm going to switch over to Aseprite. And I'm going to... The theme that I'm going for this little workshop is like a forest theme, or like a leafy green theme, something like that. So I'm just going to make a very simple button, and I'm going to give it 4 states. So typically buttons will have like a default, like a normal state, a pressed state, a hovered state, and then a pressed hovered state. And I'm gonna do this simpler way where I'm just gonna make 4 separate sprites, and I'm gonna show you this in Aseprite. I'm gonna be doing all the work in Aseprite, but the work is the same in every single editor. So I'm just gonna make a very simple square button. So I'm gonna make a square, and then, well, actually the way I like to do buttons is I like to make like a dark border. I like to remove these little corners. Again, like, you don't have to. This is just how I like to do buttons. I'm gonna make like a little wood button, and then I'm gonna add some like leaves because I'm doing a little theme here. I did not practice this beforehand. I'm just gonna point that out. So I'll just do like a little leaf. And I'm just going to shape the base of the button. I'm going to be, I should have mentioned this, I'm using the AAP Splendor 128 color palette. I got this from the Lost Pet color palettes, and they're kind of annoying to import, at least on Aseprite. I think it's pretty easy on like any of the websites, because you just take the, well, you just download, I think, either a PNG or like a GIMP file, or Photoshop if you want to do that. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like a little darkened border around this leaf. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move this down. I'm going to create like a separate thing. And then boom. So it's kind of like just a little button. And yeah, I don't know if I want to do the wood texture or not. I'll just do like a simple, like a very, very simple button. And this is gonna be, I'll have this be thinking how I want to do this. I'm gonna save this for one. Also, number one, if you want to, like, I'm gonna get into this like later, but your file names are very important, especially like in a game jam. You just want everything to be like sorted. So I'm just gonna call this wood like button, honestly. Or like button wood or something. I don't know. Just very simple. I'm not particularly good when it comes to naming my like anything, but, and then I'm gonna do another layer. So this is gonna be just like its default state, and then I'm gonna do another layer where you hover over it. So I'm gonna make it nope. Oh wait, actually, well, first what I'll do is I'm gonna export this to be like the very first. So this is just a normal button, so I'm gonna export this, and I'm just gonna export it as a PNG, just straight up, and we'll get it over to like importing that in a second. So I have the PNG. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a a hovered version. So like when you hover over it. So for that, I like to just do like, I usually do like a golden border or something, or just like for this example, I'm going to do a golden border. Just because it's, I'm not really like doing pixel art per se. I'm just kind of like showing you how to like make a button and just import it into Unity. So this will be like its hovered state, so I will export this, and then for the file name I'll just name it like hover or something. I'm just gonna undo that because I don't need it. And then I want a pressed state, so usually what I'll do is I'll make it like a darker, that's too dark. Let's see, do I have a darker brown here like this? Maybe this. I'll make a darker version because if it's pressed, it's like pressed in. But it depends for the vibe you're going for. Like maybe one game you want to have it be like brighter because it's on. It depends like what you're going for. Again, this is just like very basic, like making a button. So I'm gonna name this pressed, and then again I'm gonna do that same thing where I made. I think I used this color. Let me actually check. I probably should have done this in layers, but yeah. So I used this yellow. So I'm gonna ask, what's the pixel size? This is 32 by 32. It's kind of arbitrary. You can do whatever. My biggest piece of advice is, and I'm gonna get to it in a second, is whatever pixel size you use, just make sure it's like consistent throughout the game. That's all, pretty much. And then, so this is gonna be, I'm just gonna call it hover and then pressed. Cool. So now we have 4 different textures for buttons. We have a button, we have a hovered, we have a pressed, and then we have a hover pressed. So again, these are just PNGs. These are each 32 by 32. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go into Unity, and then I'm gonna do proper folders and everything. This is just a fresh project, by the way. I'm gonna do, this is like the very frame that you get into Unity. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna make a little sprites folder. Well, I'm gonna talk about ways to set sprites, because there's 2 main methods of like setting, of giving something a sprite. One of them is like setting it in the inspector. So like I'll show you. If I make a game object, right, I'm just gonna make a square. If I make this square, you can see that it has a sprite renderer object, which is, or a component, which is what you give it a texture. You can give it a sprite, you can change its color, you can change the mode with which it's drawn, the order layer. There's 2 ways to set a sprite. There's one where you can set it right here. If you have a script, like for example, I'm gonna make a very, very short script with a button. If you have that, then you're gonna have multiple states that you're gonna set in the inspector, so they're all gonna come in here. But the thing is, you need to drag them from your assets folder to your button. And then the other way is using a method called resources.load, which there's a lot of conflicting, and it's through code, and I'll just go over that briefly later. There's a lot of conflicting like opinions on whether you want to use resources.load or the inspector. I use .load for everything because the textures that I work with are typically not super big, so they're not, you don't have to worry. And I also don't change textures a lot. But if you don't do resources.load, you're gonna have to like assign everything manually, which is kind of annoying. If you have a big project, it gets annoying. But for the game jam, it's not gonna be a huge deal. So first, I'm just gonna make a folder. I'm gonna call it sprites. And in this folder, I'm gonna do the wood button first. So this is important. There's whenever you import a sprite in Unity, you want to make sure it's imported the way you want it. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I drag this in here, right, you see how it's really small? It's also blurry. This is a problem that happens a lot. Like you'll have blurry sprites, and it's very easy to fix, but sometimes if you don't change the settings when you import them, you have problems later down the line, and that's happened to me before. So I'm going to delete this object, And when you import the sprite, over here, you're going to have all these options. So I'm going to do... The only 3 ones that really matter right now are pixels per unit, the filter mode, and then the compression mode. So pixels per unit, I'm going to make 16. And what that means is basically each one of these squares in the editor is going to be 16 pixels by 16 pixels. So this, because it's 32 by 32, it's going to occupy a size of, it's going to occupy a size of 2 by 2 squares in the editor. So that's all that means. I want to go, actually first I'll assign the sprite so you can see the changes happening. So you can see it's blurry, but it's the right size. So you want to go down to filter mode, you want to change it to point, which basically gives it no filter. And then the compression mode, you want to change from normal quality to none. And you can see it looks much, much better now. Very important that you do that. If your sprites are like really big, if you're working with like 2K by 2K sprites or something, you probably will use some compression, but like if you're working with smaller sprites, you want like very minimal compression, and you want this filter mode to be right. So now we have this. I'm going to make a very short script that basically handles this button and handles switching the sprites. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to go like as fast as I can because the thing is not about programming. So I'm just going to open this up. And how I do buttons is I just add a box collider so that you can click on it. And then, oh my god. Why does it have Discord overlay? That's so weird. Okay. So I'm going to do on mouse, why does it not do that? On mouse enter, which is like if you enter it. Well, first, oh my god. Okay, first of all, I'm going to declare some sprites up here. So I'm going to do public sprite normal, hover, pressed, and then hover pressed. So we're making 4 different sprites. And if you declare them up here, you can drag them into the inspector. So it's very important that you do this. This is creating 4 sprites that you can assign right here. So on mouse enter, we're going to do this dot get component. Oh my god. Get component. Sprite render. I'm not even doing this right. Oh my god. Sprite render dot sprite. And this is gonna be, well actually I'm gonna change this to game object because it's the same exact thing pretty much. So this is the actual sprite. So when you say get component, you're getting the sprite renderer component, which every sprite has, and then you're saying the sprite itself. So this is changing the sprite. And so when you're entering this object and it has a hitbox, this green hitbox, you're gonna say, I'm gonna change it to hover. Right. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a variable. I'm gonna create a Boolean variable, whether it's hovered or not. And I'm gonna say when you click down on it, which is the on mouse down method, you're changing the variable. So hovered, it's initially false because you're not hovering on it. Hovered is going to be the opposite of itself when you click on it. Basically just flipping it back and forth. And then on mouse down, we're going to say if it's hovered, let's see, how am I going to do this? On mouse enter, it's going to be, I should do this actually. On mouse down, if you are hovering over it, then it should be, oh wait, no. I'm gonna do this. Not hover. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna make a variable called on-off, which is basically handling if it's on and off. Again, probably should have practiced this before I did this. So, why I'm just gonna say like on off just means like it's on. So on is not true. If it's on and you clicked on it, then you're gonna set the, did I delete it? Game object dot get component sprite render, that's sprite. And so if it's on, I must enter. Wait, y'all, I low-key confused myself. Y'all, this is crazy. I'm deleting this method. On mass enter. Should change it to, okay, here we go. So on mass enter. If it's on, then we're gonna say it's hovered. We're gonna say hover and then pressed. And then else it's gonna be if it's off and we enter it, it's just gonna be a hover. And that should low-key be good. It's not gonna update like as soon as we hit it, but I'm kind of too lazy for that. So I'm just gonna save this real quick, and then I'm gonna show you what importing the sprites is gonna look like. Oh wait, I should probably finish importing the sprites actually. I'm gonna import the rest of these buttons, and just like I did the first time, I'm gonna set the pixel size, pixels per unit to 16, filter mode point, compression none. I'm gonna go onto this object, and it already has this script on it, so I'm gonna assign the sprites. So you can see that these 4 sprites that we made are in here. So the normal is just gonna be its button, the hovered is gonna be the hovered version, the hover press is gonna be this one, and then the press is just gonna be that. And I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna enter. I don't know if this is gonna work the way I programmed it. Okay. Oh wait, it needs to, I forgot to exit. Same thing, except we're gonna be reversing it, so if it's on, but we exit it, it's just gonna be pressed, and then if it's off when we exit it, we just want it to be normal. So now it's going to be a little weird, but it'll work. So now when we hover over the button, it'll have this like ring around it. When I click it, it'll be correct. I'm clicking it again. And so that's like a very basic button, like if you're going to use UI and stuff. That's how you would kind of go about that. And that's how you change the sprite. You can see that it doesn't, when I click on it, it doesn't automatically update. You'd have to just add like a small function, but I think you kind of like get the point of this. So that's just like a very simple button. And if you guys have any questions about that, obviously you can just put it in the chat, or you can unmute and say something. I kind of went through it a little bit fast, so I hope everybody more or less understands that. You don't have to understand the code, you can come back. Can you show the code again? Yeah, sure. And I'll explain it just real quick too. So we made 4 sprites up here that are basically, we created 4 sprites inside the button itself, and that because they're public, these can be accessed from here, from the inspector, which is this thing on the right. We just basically made a variable for having the button. It's like state whether it's on or off. So if it's, we made it off at the very start. When you click the button, which is this on mouse down, it just changes the variable to be the opposite of itself. On mouse enter is when your mouse enters the hitbox. So it's just going to be, if it's on, we're going to set it to hover pressed. So just think about it in terms of like a truth table. So you enter it and it's on, then you want it to be hover pressed. You enter it and it's off, then you want it to just be hovered. You exit it and it's on, you want it to be pressed. You exit it and it's off, you want it to be normal. And that's basically all that's happening. And hopefully that clears it up. If, you know, this is going to be recorded, so if you need to go back and just like look at the code or anything, you know, feel free to do that later. Gotcha, thanks. Yep, no worries. Okay, so now that we have a very simple button, you can just move around. I'm just gonna move it over here. Now what I'm gonna do is just like a very, very simple animation. I hope this doesn't take too long. I'm gonna do like very simply. And I'm gonna show you how to make an animator and an animated. I'm just gonna do a player, or not a player. I'm just gonna do a character. I'm just gonna do an idle animation. So I'm gonna make a new sprite, and I'm gonna make it 16 by 16 this time, just because I want it to be small and I don't want it to take forever. And I'm gonna try to make like a very small version of this mushroom guy in the flyer, because I think he's cool. So, basically, I'm gonna make the very first frame. So I'm gonna do like where he's kind of just standing upright. So, I'm gonna make his head, and there we go. That's his head. And we'll fill in this, and we'll give him a little body. Oh, this is like so weird. We'll give him a body. I'm gonna try to make this actually fit inside the sprite. And what I like to do, my style is I like to. Actually, I'm gonna give him little feet. That'd be cute. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is what I like to do. Oh wait, I didn't give him eyes. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. What I like to do is I like to create. I usually do more cartoony stuff. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make like a black border around him. Just like this. So now, actually I want to make this a little bit brighter up here so it's like more distinguished. So now we have this mushroom guy. And I'm gonna give him little cheeks. Oh wait. Wait, oh my god, I'm gonna give him red cheeks actually. Oh, he's blushing. Let me change this. Okay. So cute little mushroom guy. And what I like to do is, you don't have to do this at all. You also don't need this black. Oh, masterpiece. Thank you. Thank you. What I like to do is I like to do another layer where I forgot what this method is called. This has a name, I swear, where you do like, it's not anti-aliasing. It's like where you blend it a little bit and it creates like this illusion of depth. So now he kind of blends in. Pillow shade. Yes. I don't know if that, yes. And, I feel like I should have done research before this. And so that's just going to be frame 1. I'm going to name this, you know what I'm going to name it? I'm going to name it mushroom underscore guy. And, what I'm going to do is, oh, I'm teasing. Oh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like I'm just going to add him like bobbing up and down, just like very, very simply. So I'm going to add a new frame, and how you do that in Acerprite is I don't actually know. Yeah, here we go. So Alt-N. It copies the frame over, and I think that's going to be the case for most platforms. So I'm going to turn off this shading layer real quick. And I'm going to make him like drop down a pixel. Wait, doesn't look right. I feel like it blends too much. I don't see the vision. What if I did this? That's the same exact thing I just did. I'm going to do it like this. There we go. Oh, he lost his cheeks. Okay, hold on. Oh, cute. Okay. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to delete this shading, and then I think I used this color. Yeah, so I'm gonna redo the shade. Okay, someone put a question. Okay, unsure how to phrase it as a question, but I was wondering if there was any general advice for getting further pixel art. Of course, practice, but especially any advice for moving the copying other designs online to making my own designs without copying stage. Low key, like, this is gonna sound bad, but I think like literally like playing more games, um, playing more games and just exposing yourself to the type of art that you see, I think is very helpful. Um, the way I learned was, well, first you have to like my number one tip is just like whatever you're doing. So like if you're making a game, I hope that you're enjoying it. Like if you enjoy it, it becomes fun to practice it. And I know like he said besides practice, but practice is very very important. Exposing yourself to new art is very important. And honestly, like if you play a game, and you see like a new type of art, you could like low key like try to just like replicate it or like make a character in that style, and like it will look bad at first. Like pretty much the when I was starting out, I remember I made like a few sprites and I was like, oh my god, these are so ugly. Like what? Um, and then like that's kind of the fun part. Like your art starts out kind of bad, but then it gets a lot better, and it's like it's always going to get better. Like it's perpetually going to get better. Um, so let's say expose yourself to peak like Hyper Light Drifter. Please play that game. That game is so good. For me, it's difficult to learn how to simplify the character into simple pixels. Yeah, it's hard to work with this few pixels. Like that's like the whole. The challenge is to create a character. The challenge is to create a character. Type shit. Yes, yes. Pixar has always been a headache for me for some reason. Yeah. The challenge is to like make a like something that you can very visibly see. Like you can kind of tell that this is a mushroom, but like also there's the element of like, well, if you zoom out, like you kind of, or if you zoom in, like, well, I don't really know what this is. It's always going to be kind of difficult to tell, but that's like part of the fun. Part of the fun is like trying to make something like intelligible, like try to make something that you can actually like make out, but like with 16 by 16 pixels, like that's really hard. Um, so just, I would say, yeah, expose yourself to new games, like 2D or 3D, and then just like if you're making it like this game jam is going to be a really good experience because it'll get you to like, as bad as it sounds to say, like it's going to be a lot of pressure, but like that's going to be really good. Like you will learn a lot in that very short time span. So I think that's the best advice I can give. I'm not really sure. I think I did just practice, I think, and expose yourself to new content, and then it will come in time. Is my advice. Yeah, no worries, no worries. So we have this mushroom guy, and he bobs up and down, and I'm gonna make 2 more frames real quick. So I'm just gonna copy the second frame. So I'm gonna take this. Well, actually, first of all, I'm gonna delete you and you, and then I'm gonna repaste you, and then take that. Boom. So now we have, yeah, and he kind of stalls for a second, and you don't really want that. There we go. So yeah, and learning how to do the frames is also kind of hard. It definitely takes time to animate something, which is why I'm doing something very very simple. There's a lot of like things I could go over when like animating a character, like making it, like try not to move it very statically like I did. Like you want to make it very, you want to balance making it clear what it's doing, but also like you want to make it smooth enough to where it looks like an animation, and that's always going to be hard, pretty much. Okay, so we have this mushroom guy, and again, if you're following if you're following on your own, don't worry if yours doesn't look good or doesn't like. If it's like very simple, that's like totally okay. What I'm gonna do, and also if I'm going too fast, anybody can let me know. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to export this as a sprite sheet, and every platform should have this option, but if not, like what you can also do, well, I think if you export this, yeah, I think it, oh, it does a GIF. Oh, that's weird. I think every platform should have this option where you export as a sprite sheet. And what this is going to do is it doesn't, and pick horizontal strip. What it's going to do is, I'll actually show you. It gives you a PNG, but it's the 4 different states. And that's fundamentally different to what I'm going to do next, which is the tile maps. It's very similar, but it's different. There's just one extra step when you're doing animations. So now that I have this PNG, I'm going to go back over to Unity. And then in sprites, I'm going to put the mushroom guy.png, a classic name. Pixels per unit, I'm going to make it 16. Filter mode, point, compression, none. And so here's how you make an animation in Unity. You have 4 sprites in one sprite. So what you want to do is you want to go to the sprite editor right here. And this is very confusing, but the only thing that really matters right now is up here when you have, oh wait. Oh, sorry, I forgot to apply the multiple. In sprite mode, if you have an animation or a tile map, you want to change single to multiple. When making a sprite sheet, do you do everything all in one? I'm kind of confused what that means, but yes. You're always going to get one sprite, basically.
Like what I meant is like, do you like do like all the different like sprites or like all the different like the mushroom guy? Do you do like all 4 of them like on one like file
Yeah.
or do you do it like separately kind of thing?
You would, well, it depends. Like if you have different types of animations, like if you have a running versus like an idle, like maybe you would want to do them in different files. But I usually like to do them all in the same file, and I just do them in different layers. And how a sprite works is you can actually just enable/disable ones, and it will export only the enabled layers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's conditional, like whether you want to do it in multiple files, but generally I do it in one file.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah. So make sure this is multiple, and then you can go into the sprite editor, and then you have this button that's called slice. And you can do automatic, but what I do is I change this to grid by cell size, and then I do however big my sprite was. So, 16 by 16. And so what you see is it splits from the top left every single sprite going towards the bottom right. So like it splits this 16 pixels, 16 pixels, 16 pixels. And then when you click slice and then you click apply, you get 4 different textures all in one. And if you click this arrow here, you can see the different 4 textures. So very cool. And the cool thing about Unity is when you drag in a sprite sheet like we did, and it already has its like layers, it's already like split correctly. If you drag it in, it automatically creates an animation. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an animations folder just because I want to set a good example. So we drag in this mushroom guy, we get an animation. I'm going to name it mushroom idle. And then I'm going to navigate to the folder that I just made. And we'll save the animation there. And so now you have the little mushroom guy, look how cute. And I'm going to name him different. Mushroom. Give him a capital name. So if you want to animate it, oh, it already has this animator thing applied. But like, let's say if you just drag something and you want to animate it, all you have to do is when you're on the game object, you can see all these components that it has. You want to add an animator component. And that's all you have to do. And well, you have to apply some of this stuff, but that's all you have to do to like get it able to animate. And so you have this mushroom, you have its animator, which it automatically applied. In the animations where we put it, it has two objects, and I get these confused like literally all the time. I don't know why they make them so similar. This one is the animator controller, and then this one is the animation. So the triangle one is the animation, and this is where you can change the keyframes. And I actually am going to change the keyframes just because by default it's like way too fast, and I don't know if there's a way to like slow it down. Uh, like there's no built-in slider like here. Like you can do it down here. You can change the speed, but in the game it's not going to be like that. So I'm going to change these keyframes to make them like, I think each of these lines is a frame. And so I have these 4 keyframes, and now that's good. You can just click the X, and then you get out of there. And then it already has this controller already applied, so it should be good to go, and it should be animated. Let me check. Okay, well, first what I want to do is I want to add a ghost frame, because what happens is it goes this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame, and then it immediately comes back to this frame. Like there's no other time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste this, so C, here, V, and that just extends this frame out 3 frames so that it kind of doesn't unnaturally loop over. And then I'm going to put you in the middle of the screen so I can see you better. And there you go. There's your little mushroom guy, or whatever animation that you made. And you can't control him or anything, but that's how you would make it. And then if you want to have different states, like if you want to have an idle state and you want to have like a running state, what you would do is you would have a script, and then you'd say like, okay, well if you're moving, then you apply the animation. If you're not moving, you apply the idle animation, and that would be probably done through the programmer. And it's pretty simple. Like it's literally just this, but like instead of changing the sprite, you change the animation. It follows the same thing. So it's game object, get component, animator, animator controller, and then you set the same stuff. Yeah. So I know I'm going like really fast. Are there any questions? Anybody has any questions? I'm down to answer anything. What the? When you do your pixel art, do you ever use the animator transition stuff? I low-key don't know what that is. Wait, animator transition stuff. Oh, like between the Unity objects? Is that what you mean? Oh, like the okay. Personally, I don't do that. And the reason is because most of the stuff that I've never had to do that because most of the stuff that I do is like very simple. But what they're talking about is you can, is it, that's like, wait, hold on. I forgot what that is. Is that an animation? No. I know what you mean. I don't know where it is. But there's ways to like without doing it in like code, you can it's an animator with the animator graph, I think. Oh, okay, wait. Let me see. Yeah, so there's this, and you can create like parameters and variables, and then you can edit it through this like graph style, kind of like a shader graph. Personally, I don't do that, but like low-key, this is probably better. This is probably a better method than what I described, especially if you have like a lot going on. It's probably better to do it like this. You just you can like add some variables, and then you say like, okay, if you're running, change to this. If you're not running, change to that. It's basically the same thing I described, but like not in a script. It's in a graph instead. Um, I'd recommend it. It's pretty good. Reminds me of the animations on Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Looks so clean. I've never seen it, but I'm gonna assume that's so true. Okay, so next I'm gonna do a tile map, and tile maps are like, if you're, I'm gonna pull out the Super Mario Bros. Example. So like these, oh, just give me the original. Okay, yeah, like this, right? You see how these are like all tiles? Um, each of these like occupies a point in space, and then you can place these tiles manually. Unity makes it like really, really super nice to do tile maps. And I'm going to be mostly showing you from the art perspective, but I'm going to be doing like a fantasy forest slash, yeah, I'm just going to be doing like a fantasy forest kind of thing. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, it's going to be like a top down. So kind of like, instead of like a platformer like the one I just showed you, I'm going to be doing like a top down one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 32 by 32, and this is going to be the grass. Actually, no, I'm going to make that bigger. I have to head out, but thank you so much. Yeah, of course. Feel free to head out. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was helpful. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some grass. And I'm going to make like a little, kind of just like a little pathway. And so I'm going to have on these sides, well, I'm just going to draw like a little diagram of what I'm going to make. So this is what I'm thinking very generally, kind of like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set the opacity this lower so I can kind of see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make these right here. So I'll make some grass, you know, just some very basic grass. And I'm going to do multiple ones because I want there to be some like variation to it. And I'm going to be doing it as if it's like manually placed. There are ways to make it like non-manual. But I'm going to be doing it as if it's manually placed. Gotta head out, super helpful. Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Glad you guys could find it helpful. And thanks for stopping by. So what I'm going to do is just do this like pixel. I'm going to do pixel perfect. How'd you show the 16x? Oh, I probably should have mentioned that. If you do control and then apostrophe, it enables it. And also, I think it's in view. Yeah, show and then grid. It's so nice. It is so nice. It's like a lifesaver. It's like amazing. I love it. Oops. It has saved me like countless times trying to get everything to look nice, especially with tile maps. It is so annoying to do them. And then boom. Actually, you know, I'm gonna make this brighter. Oh, that does not look right. Wait, what if I do green? Okay, you know what? I low-key like the green. What if I make it darker? Oh, that's way better. Well, I'm doing that. Gonna recolor. Actually, I'm gonna teach you a little trick. This exists in Aseprite, but I'm not sure it exists in the others. But there's like a color replacer. I'm pretty sure Pixel Art has it, but I just don't know where it is. You can do a replace color. So I'm gonna select this dark green color, copy paste its value, its hex value, edit, replace color. Oops, not that. Select the color that you want to replace, edit, replace color, and then replace it with this new color. And then it changed all that light green to this dark green. Very useful. I'm going to go over like how important keyboard shortcuts are. That is like, I think, low-key the most important one. Like, it's so good. And I'm just going to continue doing this. And because we're doing a tile map, we want our sprites to kind of fit together. So you'll notice that if I were to loop this forever, I want this one to connect with this one. So I want it to, like, if I were to take this and move it down here, I want it to still look natural, and it looks pretty natural. It's a little bit jagged here, but I don't think it's that deep. And okay, so I have this very simple tile map, and again, since I'm doing a 16 by 16 grid, I basically have a 4 by 4 tile set ready to go. And so I'm going to, it's very dark, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to call this grass floor. I'm going to call it grass floor. And then another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a canopy. So kind of like how I'm just going to have like a little canopy. Kind of like that. That does not, I'm going to make this brighter. Doesn't look as good. Looks a little brighter. Replace color, shift R. And that's the color, so I'm just gonna make this one shade brighter using the palette that I'm using. That looks a little bit better, I think. And then you have this kind of, oops, I'm gonna turn the opacity down. So you have this kind of, this shading that kind of looks like a tree canopy. And I'm gonna do this a little bit differently because it's hard to tile this correctly. So actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the canopy in a different file. And the reason why is because I want it to be like larger, because I'm going to be using a different scale for this than I am for this. And what I mean by that is, like, in Unity, this canopy layer will be like 4 by 4 pixels instead of 16 by 16. So I'll have a pixel. No, it'll have the same pixel layer, but it's just gonna be like larger tiles. So I'll do like, make this 4 by 4 tile, so I'll make like a little tree kind of outline. Do that dark. We'll make a smaller one. So you can see I'm kind of going for like a split down. There's like going to be like 4 quadrants kind of. Make it like an irregularly shaped one. And we'll do that. And then I'm going to set the opacity. Actually, I'm not going to set the opacity because I can do this in Unity, because you can set the opacity of, you can set the alpha of individual tile maps. So I have all the components that I need. I'm going to call this tree canopy. So I'm going to export this, and I'm not going to export it as a sprite sheet. I'm just going to export this as a PNG. And same with this one. So I'm going to go into sprites, and then what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to actually import them first. I'll show you guys what that's like. So this grass floor, I want it to be 16 by 16, sprite mode multiple. We're going to change the filter, so filter to none, or to point, compression to none. We're going to go back into the sprite editor. We're going to slice grid by cell count, 16 by 16. And now we have tiles that we can place individually. I'm going to hit apply. And now we have this. I'm also going to do the same with this one. Pixels per unit, 16. Multiple, filter mode point, compression none. And this time we're going to do 64 by 64. So now we have 4 of these. And apply that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a quick, I actually kind of forgot where this is, tile map. We're going to do rectangular tile map, and I'm just going to call it grass. And we also need to open up a window for this, so we need tile palette, which is basically what we're going to use to paint our tiles on the map. So I'm going to put this up here. Oh, it looks so weird when you do that. Put this right here. There we go. I kind of like it there. So we have this grid. We have this grid which contains all of our tile maps, and then we have this grass. So, which is just a tile map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new palette. I'm going to call it grass. And I don't think you have to change anything. I'm just going to create it as it is. Oh, it's going to do this. Okay. The annoying thing is that when you create a palette, it's going to put all the individual sprites in there. So I'm just going to create a folder so it doesn't complicate things. Grass, create, palettes, select folder. Now I'm just going to drag these in here. And again, going to put them in here. And it might take a little while, but basically what you see is that we have this. We have our tile palette, and what we can do is we can just kind of individually place them. What I'm going to do is just create a very basic, well actually I'm going to use this because this is way better. Oops. I'm just going to fill the scene, and I'll paint kind of randomly some grass, and then I'll also do this. I'll make it a little bit random. Oops. Place some more grass. You can erase with this eraser up here. And that's pretty much, oh, the player is below it. I'm going to increase the Z, or I'm going to decrease the Z by 1, so I'm going to put -1, because the smaller this position Z is, the closer it is to the camera. And I'm going to press play. And then we have a tile map. And it has no collision, and I also cannot move the player. But if you want to do collisions, what I do is, that's separate from the pixel art workshop, but if you just, what I do is I make another tile map, and what you can do is, when you go into the sprite, I make a separate sprite sheet that's like the same, but it has pixels marking where the hitboxes are, and then instead of sprite editor, you go to custom physics shape, and then you can generate, and then you can change the hitboxes. I'm not going to go over that, but just in case you wanted to know, this is how you would do that. And then I would set the opacity of that layer to 0 so that the hitboxes are invisible. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new tile map. On top of this, it's going to be the tree canopy. So 2D tile map, rectangular. Oh, it creates a new grid. I don't like that. Sorry. I meant to create it under this one. Canopy. And what we can do, I'm just going to make a separate palette, and I'm going to call this canopy. Create, put in the same folder, and I'm just going to drag this in. Select folder. And we can place this kind of just on top. We can do whatever. Again, this is all going to be, oh, I don't like that. Why does it do that? Oh, I know why. It's, oh wait, I don't know why. That's weird. Okay, hold on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the alpha layer of this canopy. So if we go to color on this, of the whole tile map, we can drag this alpha slider down. And that did not work. Is it because I'm changing the alpha of a black pixel? Oops. Oh, that's weird. Wait, the grass I can drag. Canopy. Oh, I think I was painting on the wrong thing. Oops. That might be why. You have to go to canopy. Make sure you're on like the right one. Oh, oops. Oh, it's on the wrong layer. Okay. Make this 0.5. Oh, actually, let's make it -2 so that it covers the player too. There we go. That is so much better. Oh, it was so annoying. Okay. So, just kind of creating these clouds. And then we can change the alpha of this layer, and then boom. There we go. And we can keep painting it with that alpha layer applied to it. And you can see what it looks like in game. I'll just go into the game real quick. And there you go. Oh wait, is it not covering the player? No, hold on. I can't tell. Okay, it is. And yeah, there you go. That's kind of like an example scene of what you can do with tile maps. And again, you can apply physics layers to it. It's not, you know, anything crazy. Very simple to import your tile maps. And you can see that the palette folder gets filled up very quickly. I would sort this by tile map and make sure, I'm going to go over that, some tips as well for file management. And yeah, this is the finished product. Any questions, feel free to ask. Again, I know I'm going kind of fast, so just feel free. If not, I will just go over my final bit of the workshop, which is going to be my tips that I have. Oh, also for tile maps, I did not mention this at all. I should have mentioned this. So sometimes you want to make tile maps that look like this, and I'm just going to make a very quick file for this. So sometimes you want to make tile maps that are kind of like, you need to keep it consistent, kind of, like, as in, that's kind of a bad way to put it. Like, you need to make these corners, and you need to make tiles that connect with other tiles, and that gets really annoying really fast. So like this doesn't seem too bad, but then what if you need like a corner piece? What if you need a piece that looks like this? This one connects to this one. It also connects to this one, and then it connects to this one, right? Like, let's say you need it to look like this, and then you need one that kind of caps off at the end here, and then one that goes this way, and then one that turns this way. That's a lot of separate tiles to do. Like, let's pretend like this is just like void or something. Like, that's kind of a lot of tiles to do. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of really good ways around this. Like, sometimes you are gonna have to do a lot of these tiles, but you can kind of get away with cutting some of these. Like, it's not every game that you need one of these tiles, for example. Like, sometimes you can just delete those. But I have a video here that kind of goes over that, and again, I posted these slides, and I'll post them along with the video as well. But there's a link here, and oops. There's a link here, and it goes over kind of like some clever techniques to get rid of that, and they do that by doing, I believe, a tile map layered on top of each other. And so you can get away with drawing less tiles, and it's pretty cool. This is actually a very cool video. I would highly recommend. If you end up making tiles like that, I would highly recommend going over that. A little bit more advanced, but it's very useful if you want to save time. Okay. So now I'm going to go over just some very short tips. Nothing crazy. One sec. Very short tips. So number one is that game jams, you don't have a lot of time. So you want to know how to import and export sprites quickly, which kind of sounds obvious, but if you like know keyboard shortcuts, if you know how to like where you keep your files, it's very you become like very fast at making sprites. Like definitely I noticed that when I was worse at it, it took a much longer time to make stuff, but now even though I'm putting more work into it, I can kind of make stuff faster just because a lot of the busy work is taken out of it. And then I want to go over this resources.load thing real quick. So Unity has this function, and I have to make a folder for this called resources. Um, Basically, if you put, let's say, my wood button pressed, right? Let's say I have the wood button pressed. Um, how we did it originally was that we have this object and we have to assign everything. Oops. We have to assign everything in the inspector itself. And if you're changing sprites a lot, like let's say you need to change, let's say you didn't like the sprite and you wanted to change it, now you have to update it in the inspector. And that involves importing it and then dragging it into the inspector. And sometimes you forget. And if you forget, it will crash sometimes. And so, kind of a work around that, a way around that, is, let's say I have this wood button pressed, right? Well, where it's pressed, that's this line right here. What we can do instead is we can do resources. Oh, wait, sorry. Instead of assigning it to this variable that we created, we can actually delete this variable because we don't need it anymore. And we can do resources.load, and then we need to pass in a type, and we just say sprite, and then we put in the file path. So we just put in text resources. Oh, actually, no, it's going to automatically direct to the resources folder. So if you have subfolders in here, you would have to do it. But since it's just in here, we just say wood button pressed. And that way, it seems like annoying to hard code this into here, but also keep in mind that if you just replace this and have the same name, then you just drag your sprite in here and then it's automatically recognized. So I'm going to save this and just show you that it works the same, even though we got rid of the method, or even though we got rid of the thing in the inspector. That's the wrong thing. Yeah, you can see there's only 3 variables, but it's going to work the same because it's using resources.load. That did not work. Hold on. I imported this incorrectly. Okay, it's not working. Resources.load sprite. I might have spelled this wrong. Are there 3 S's there? That's crazy. Okay, wait. Give me 1 second. You just have to make sure it's spelled correctly. That part is annoying. Not gonna lie. Okay, now it works like it did before. And just, stuff like that happens all the time. But just make sure, if you want to speed it up a little bit, resources.load is more powerful than a lot of people might know, because a lot of people do the inspector thing. Sometimes it's just better to do resources.load. Also, if you're doing a lot of stuff in scripts, like this is pretty inefficient, and resources.load is pretty fast, generally. So just keep that in mind for optimization. And then I want to go over the fact that a lot of these game jams are going to have like a gimmick, like a main gimmick. The way I design games is I come up with like a central gimmick or like a concept, and then I build on top of that. That's especially true for game jams where you're trying to make something like fun. Generally, I mean, a lot of people do make like experimental stuff, but generally a lot of people are going for like very like fun, like you have a gimmick and you're just trying to play with that gimmick for as little time you have. You're just trying to play with that gimmick. So your art style, as if you're doing like sprite work, your art style, you want to kind of complement that. So for example, like let's say your gimmick is time, like you're just messing with time, right? Maybe you want to have like clocks. Maybe you want to have a lot of clocks, and that represents time. And so, kind of like how the person who's giving the workshop yesterday about game feel, it's part of that is going to be the sprite work, and you want your sprite work to complement that concept. So like mountains and snow, those are going to be closely tied together. So just like if you're going to make sprites, make it tied to the concept. And then also colors and shapes. So maybe you want to make like a certain color, like I was mentioning with the palettes. Maybe you want to make an object or like time represented by color. So maybe like blue because it's typically like a slower color, or like red or orange because they're like faster colors. Um, Colors can be very important, and you might want to handle that with the palettes. And just try to keep a consistent art style. You want to keep pretty much no matter what. I feel like you want to keep your pixels per unit consistent, unless you're specifically trying to make pixels larger, because you see how these pixels are the same size. If you don't set the pixels per unit correct, they'll be different sized. Unless you want that, I wouldn't recommend it. And then files, keep your file names simple, and then use proper folders. I kind of skimped a little bit on the folders, but like make sure you have all your folders set up, your sprites. Ideally, I would have said like in this palettes thing, just keep like a grass folder where you put all this grass in, and just make sure you have everything consistent and easy to read, because it's hard to like understand when you're making a game, like how much time you'll lose on like trying to find um, file names and everything. So just make sure you have that. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the workshop. Um, if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute or type. Oh my god, no code, but I made snail. That snail is awesome. That's a very awesome snail. Oh my god. Yeah, and feel free to like put in chat like if you made something, um, or whatever. And I hope you guys enjoyed the workshop. Thank you for coming. We can't wait to see your games, and hopefully, this was able to help. Hopefully, the you learned something. I know it's kind of a lot of information, so I'm gonna post the recording later. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for coming. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, he's got like a little witch. Oh, that's so cool. I like the witch. Nice. Super cool. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody.